Elfers, do you think Deshaun Watson is worth his contract now?
You're listening to the What the Elf Was That podcast, an iconoclastic look at the latest Cleveland Browns news. The What the Elf Was That podcast is part of the Fanatical Elves podcast network, a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Here's your host, Joel Cade.
All right, Elfers, welcome back to What the Elf Was That. You see that game Sunday? I'm telling you, the Browns are coming back looking like a pretty decent team. But I'm excited this week because I have my old college roommate here for one semester only. That should tell you how much we got along in college. Mr. Brad Haskin. Brad, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so Joel and I met in the fall of 1993, if you can believe that. We were offensive lineman of mine, and I was a quarterback, and we got along great. I think
that's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback, yeah. So we've known each other for, just doing the math, right at 30 years.
Yeah. So Brad's a good guy. We're with him in college. I think I had some growing up to do, and probably needed to chill out and mature, and we could have gotten along a little bit better. But just so you know about Brad has stayed in the game and has coached. And I'm assuming you're more on the offensive side of the ball. I can't imagine as a quarterback you're coaching defense, but maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I got out of college, and I was fortunate enough to do my student teaching under a legendary coach, and he gave me an opportunity to coach, and absolutely loved it. I got my teaching certificate, and then I ended up being a football coach for 20 years, definitely on the offensive side. All 20 years I coached quarterbacks. Most of the time I coached defensive backs as well. And later in my career, the last couple of years, because we couldn't find a linebacker coach, I helped do that a little bit. But mainly I was offensive coordinator, and then, of course, when I was a head coach, I called my own plays for it as well. So definitely an offensive background, and definitely we like to throw it around a little bit and have it spread offense in the last 10 years or so of my coaching career.
See, I'm going to say something about Brad as a high school quarterback. Brad was clearly a man ahead of his time because Brad would be in the shotgun, take the ball. This was a perfect read option quarterback who didn't live in the read option system. It wasn't created yet. It wasn't there. So he was just kind of like a running quarterback who could throw and run in a time where teams didn't know what to do with people who could throw and run. It's actually, I'd love to have seen you play now. I think it'd be a different career for you, but is what it is, man.
The funny part is that's multiple times have come across my head. I would have loved to have been able to spread, but to your point, it wasn't around then, and I kind of a little mad. But who knows what the results would have been? But I would have loved to actually played in it and given a shot at it.
I think you'd have done well. Did you know, Brad? I mean, you may or may not have. Did you know that Hal Mumme and Mike Leach actually coached the team we played against?
Really?
Do you know that? Yeah, we played against Iowa Wesleyan.
Yep.
And they were the coaches of that team.
Well, we were playing JV against them. We didn't play the varsity. Our varsity squad didn't play them, but I remember that vividly. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Right back in the days.
That's from me. I was rolling to my left and throw it all the way across the field, and I'm like, somebody's there. He caught it. But that was the game. I was in.
Yeah. So they were creating that offense, that air raid offense, as we were playing them. And I mean, that's some crazy stuff. I was actually talking to Ray Caldwell. You remember Rainier, right?
Yeah.
Telling him about this. Sent him like, hey, did you know that, because the fall before, the varsity actually played Iowa Wesleyan, and they were at Iowa Wesleyan. And I'm like, did you know that was Mike Leach? Because this was right when Mike Leach had died. Did you know it was Mike Leach and Hal Mumme? And he was like, really? And he pulled up the tape and he was showing it. And it's clearly the air raid offense. So there's a story you can always tell somebody like your kids.
What's even more funny about that is Tony Franklin was the one who kind of made all the money off of it with boxing it all up into a system and stole it. And I was one of the customers, and I used his offense. So it was definitely the air raid offense that I used.
So remind me, Tony Franklin, which one is this? Is this the helmet that Which one is it?
He was one of his offensive coordinator at Auburn. He was at Troy, and then he went to Auburn, and then he actually went to Middle Tennessee State for a while.
Okay.
He wasn't exactly the most PC guy, which he kind of got built a little bit sometimes. But the guy sold a lot of systems, and a lot of people used his system based on Hal Mumming and Mike Leach's stuff. Dana Holgerson's is an air raid guy from that group. Neil Brown, who's West Virginia's coach, he's an air raid guy.
Mm-hmm. I can't see this, but I got my massive football library over here. Yeah. It's about 3 shelves, so I don't say massive. But I'm trying to think if I have any of these guys' books, because I'm an avid reader of systems and offense in particular. I ended up reading that helmet to headset or headset to helmet series on that. The air raid.
With
here it is.
With Dub Maddox.
Yes. The R4, yeah.
My son's got that book in the basement. I got that exact book. Adapter died. I ended up having him go with a different system called QB Connect or QBIQ. Okay. Trent Dilfer's name's around it, but it's a different guy that runs it. Chris, his name escapes me off the top of my head, but it's a lot simpler.
Okay. Well, this seemed pretty simple too, but the air raid offense itself seemed pretty simple compared to like the Shanahan offense. I mean, have you read about the Shanahan offense? Have you?
No, I never did.
You ever pick up Bobby Peters' books, Complete 2019 San Francisco 49ers Manual? Man, it's a good 300 pages. But those outside zone offenses, what the Browns run, that outside zone. So let's get into the Browns. Okay, sure, Browns Titans recap. So Brad, you get a chance to see any of it. Now, I got to warn all of you Elfers out there. Brad is a Steelers fan, so anyway, we'll excuse this for right now. Which should tell you why we didn't get along in college. But anyway,
many years ago, right? Mm-hmm. I was actually impressed on the reversal of the results from the Steeler game to the Titan game. I felt like Deshaun played much better, and to my surprise as well, I felt like the offensive line blocked pretty well for Jerome Ford as well, because even in the second half, he had that one long run against the Steelers. Because I actually thought when Nick Chubb went down, I thought the Steelers had this game in a bag, because now we can just pin our ears back, which is what we only do well. I mean, we don't really defend the pass as long as we get to them quicker.
Right.
But bring it all together, I just really felt like Deshaun Watson and the run game was a lot better against the Titans, who I feel like is a pretty good football program in itself.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel out there, former Ohio State guy. I know that means nothing to you, but we're an Ohio podcast, basically. Mike Vrabel out there. A lot of things changed between week 2 and week 3 for the Browns, and a part of this is what I need to go over in the podcast here. Browns fans, you may have noticed Deshaun Watson's back there in the shotgun a lot in empty and in one-back sets. Yeah. Now, that should surprise you, unless you've been listening to this podcast, which I've been telling you since March, this is what the Browns offense was going to be. But it's surprising because when Nick Chubb has been the central focal point of the offense, it's been the outside zone, 2 tight ends, ground and pound the football, run the what am I looking for? The roll out off the play action, try to hit the people on the I'll tell you what, Brad, I can't think tonight.
Second layer, third layer.
Yeah, the layered passes, the waggle, the old wing T waggle. They like to run off that play action pass. So the Titans game didn't see a lot of that. You saw a lot of that in Pittsburgh. You saw a lot of that against the Bengals. But now, last week, we're looking at Deshaun Watson saying, hey, let's just put me in shotgun and one-back sets and, empty backfield sets, and let's just go at it. And that's what he seems to do best, right? You get the pass rush, he eludes a guy, hits a guy, and they're open. The other thing I saw different this week was that Deshaun Watson was on time with his passes. I don't know if you saw that, Brad, last week when they're playing the Steelers. He's sitting there patting the ball. Everything's late. Nothing's on time. Kind of destroyed the running or the passing game. When you do that, then you got to run the football. And then you've got Jerome Ford back there who, in my opinion, needs some lessons on how to hit a hole. Like, I don't know if he's still got that peewee football mentality that, like, it's got to be a perfect hole. You know, oh no, that's Elijah Moore, by the way. Elijah Moore is I got to run it all the way to the sideline and try to go up or out, beat everybody to the edge and hit the corner. That's why Elijah Moore should never play running back ever again. But Jerome Ford doesn't seem to want to hit a hole. He wants to see it perfect. You know, it's got to be like this, like the parting of the seas. That's not going to happen in the NFL. You're going to have about this much room, and you're going to slip your butt through that thing, or you're not going to gain any yards. And Jerome Ford seems to want to have that nice big hole, and that's just not going to happen. Not at this level.
Don't they all want that big hole?
Yeah. I tell you what, I was at the game, and I sat by some really stupid people. I'm going to tell you this story, okay? And Kareem Hunt comes back out trying to make some, play. He came back this week, runs the ball up the middle. That's who Kareem Hunt is. He's a pinball. He is going to just go in and throw bodies around as he runs through them. And there's a place for that in the NFL, right? You got to have these people. It's kind of like what Najee Harris does to an extent, right? He's just going to run through the hole and going to hit people. Okay, those backs don't last a long time in the NFL, but they're good when you have them. So Kareem Hunt runs in there.
Derrick Henry.
Well, I mean, look at Derrick Henry for the last few years. I mean, he's slowing down too. That's why they got that other guy they try to run out there who runs a 4.40. I mean, that's where teams are going. But Kareem Hunt runs out there, gets hit. These guys all around me, what they got to do is make a hole. He can't run the football. There's no hole. And I'm just like, wow, I'm amongst the geniuses around here.
Well, I feel like every time I go to a football game, and bigger than a high school football game, I try in high school watching my son, I stay away from all the fans because they have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly.
I went to the Mizzou Memphis football game Saturday, and I sat behind or in front of somebody, and I'm literally telling them basically this formation, you're going to do this or that, and then boom, it happens. They're like, how do you know that? And I'm like, watch the film or two.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and you it's the variation of who you sit by, right? I mean,
well, I think there's always room for I think people like you and I, like you and I, just we've watched enough football, we've played enough football, we've known enough football, we've coached enough football that you just kind of know what's going to happen because it's like you've got the headset on. Like, this is what's working, this is what's not working. This is where we need to go with the ball. If you want to be successful, they're going to set up this, and you're thinking 3 plays ahead because that's what you have to think, right? So I'm going to set up this, I'm going to set up this, I'm going to set up this. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's almost it's a curse when the offense breaks the huddle and the wide receivers get set up, and then I see where the defenders have their leverage of safeties and corners and inside backers, and I'm like, all right, this play's not going to work. That one will. Don't run that. This, that, and it's like I can't even enjoy a football game. I got to think of it so coach-like, but I still love it that way.
Oh yeah.
So much so that I sat on the end zone at that football game Saturday. And everybody else, I can't see anything. I said, I see it all.
Yep.
I see how the holes open up, they close like that. It's pretty neat to watch that.
Yeah, I pretty much, when you go to pro games, I like to get in those end zone seats. I'd rather see the schemes unwind here. Well, we're getting into this, man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say how big their splits are. Oh, my goodness. The NFL splits are for me to maybe you 6 hours. I mean, they're huge, enormous.
Yeah, and yet they can still cover them, right? Like the linemen can still sit there and get a good. I mean, it's amazing what these guys can do. All right, we got to take our break, so let's pay our bills. All right, and after the break, guys, we're gonna do a little segment of Pretender or Contender. This is where Brad and I will break down the NFL games that we've seen and tell you who is pretending to be good or pretending to be bad, and who's a real contender, isn't as they are really bad or they are really good. All right, so hang on. And we're back. Make sure to visit our sponsors. That's how we make all the millions of dollars. This is how I'm able to afford people like Brad to come on, because God knows he's not going to do this for free and share us with his vast knowledge of offense. Brad, I've really enjoyed having you on so far. It's nice to have conversations with people who understand the game. It gets tedious, I think, as you might know, talking to people that clearly don't know what they're talking about. I mean, but this is why we do podcasts, right? We're just trying to explain what's happening out there, and we're going to try to help our fellow for you Steelers fans, for me, the Browns fans, figure out what's going on. So let's go to pretender or contender. So I want some. Are you excited for this?
Absolutely.
All right. I hope you've watched your football, because I've got a couple teams here that I'm really interested in the answer, because I keep picking the wrong games for these teams and it's starting to make me mad. So let's go with number one, which I think is an easy one, but I'm going to throw the softball out there. Pretender or contender? The Cincinnati Bengals.
I think once Joe Burrow's healthy, I think they're going to be a contender.
But until then,
they've got a three-headed monster in that receiving core that it's pretty tough to stop. Now, I think they've taken a hit on their defense a little bit, but I ultimately think they don't have to score. I mean, they can score a bunch with anybody, so maybe the defense doesn't have to be as good until we get to the playoffs when they're playing the teams with three wide receivers that are just as good as their group.
All right, so give me the verdict.
Oh, definitely contender.
Okay, so contender with the caveat of when Joe Burrow comes back.
Healthy, when he gets
healthy.
That cap.
Okay, so I'm kind of buying that, but I'm going pretender, and I'm going to tell you why. That defense is bad, right? I mean, it's not just not good. It's bad. Like, I watched that team play Baltimore, and Baltimore came out with that air raid offense, which I can't believe any NFL team runs. But they came out with that air raid offense, and the Bengals looked like they had no idea what they were going to do with it. It was actually quite embarrassing to watch on TV. I mean, I felt embarrassed for the Bengals.
I kind of have to disagree in the sense that they shut down the Rams last night pretty good.
Well, I mean, whatever. I want them to be pretenders. So, all right.
Let's be honest. We're fans of the same division. I would love to see the nosedive by the Cincinnati Bengals.
I think they'll be. I'm agree with you. They're going to be good when Burrow's healthy. I don't think they're going to be as good as they have been in the past, which is you kind of hinted at. That whole secondary took a massive hit, and they didn't replace them, and they got like $26 million in cap space. We're like, what the hell are they doing? I'm sorry, what the elf are they doing down there? Because what are you going to do with the cap space?
The Cam Hilton is your leader in that backfield, and Eli Apple. Really?
Like, and you went into the season knowing this.
Teams. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think they're eventually going to be they're contender, but to the Super Bowl ilk, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go that far. I mean, I think they're going to have to take next offseason and do something with their secondary. All right. Pretender or contender? The Denver Broncos. Are they really that bad?
It's kind of hard to be that bad, isn't it? Giving up 70, it's only happened once. That was once in four times in NFL history. Look, I'll be honest with you. I was really, really laughing this summer when Sean Payton called out Nathaniel Hackett. And I laughed because on Facebook this week, I literally posted, Sean Payton, you have a phone call. Online, Nathaniel Hackett. Or on line one, Nathaniel Hackett. So how do you be that bad, give up 70 points, and then call out the previous coach and say how bad he was? Definitely pretender. There's no two ways.
We're on the same page with this. I think they are pretenders. They are that bad. I mean, Sean Payton should have just
their franchise when they traded for Russell Wilson.
Yes, but you still got John Elway out there. Isn't he still out there?
Yeah, I think my thing is that Russell Wilson's a good football player. The problem is what they gave up to get him, which set their whole organization back years. And now Sean Payton's stuck with putting it together again. And I don't know if he's the man yet to do that or not.
I don't know. I'm not going to agree that Russell Wilson was that good of a quarterback when they traded for him. I mean, the Seahawks know what they're doing when they're trading him away. I mean, Sean Payton called him out for just basically doing social activism with his girlfriend. I mean, Come play football, then do social activism when you're done.
As a Missouri Tiger fan, I was a little disappointed to see them get rid of Drew Lock because they never really gave him a fair shot.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Geno Smith started playing out of his mind, so then therefore Drew Lock never did get a shot.
Yeah, but tell me that Geno Smith thing's going to last.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's been 1 year, right?
We should have put the Seahawks. We're talking about the Seahawks. What do you think? Pretender or contender on the Seahawks?
Gosh, in the NFC, it's a tough road there. Are you talking NFL Super Bowl champs? No. But are they someone who can make a little run in the playoffs? Absolutely.
Okay, so you're going with I just made them up. I wasn't even going to talk about them. Okay. The Cleveland special. You ready for this one? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with their quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Pretender or contender?
Definitely pretender.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I think they're pretenders.
I have never, in all my days of watching Baker Mayfield, have thought much of him. Is he athletic? Sure. Can he make a player here or there? But I also believe that as athletic as he is, it gets him in trouble. And at the end of the day, Tampa's got a good defense, but I don't think they have what it takes to be a good offense.
I'm just waiting for the Baker Mayfield breakdown. Have you seen the Baker Mayfield cycle?
No, I have not.
Okay, I got to find this.
I've seen him lay an egg against a few teams, including our Steelers.
Oh yeah, he's laid. He's got a whole cycle. Let me see if I can find it. We made this up as Browns fans. So
Don't you have a cycle for all your quarterbacks?
Oh, come on now. Let me see if I can present this now. I'll share this so you can see it. Okay, here we go. You see that? The Baker Mayfield cycle. Play like poop. Get criticized by the media. Develop an underdog mentality. Beat an inferior opponent. Call out all of his doubters. And then play like garbage again.
Start all over again.
This is what he does over and over and over and over. Okay, so he's been at beat an inferior opponent the first couple weeks. And then Monday Night Football, he went out and just played like garbage. So now we're back to being criticized by the media. He's going to develop an underdog mentality. So we'll have to see how this goes next week for Baker Mayfield. But I don't think he's gotten out of the cycle yet. So I'm going pretender.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm definitely on pretender watch with that one.
Yeah. Okay, the Green Bay Packers. You got Jordan Love out there. You got their defense. What do you think?
Well,
Green Bay Packers.
Now, again, we're talking about, are we Super Bowl contenders or are we going to win the division?
Let's go with division. Can they win that division?
Okay. Yes, they can win that division. I think the Detroit Lions are the best team in that division, but I don't believe that it's a lock. And because of this Green Bay's defense and it's still some good parts around Jordan Love, I think they can still win the division just because they've been there, done that, with the exception of Jordan Love.
Okay. So big Thursday night football game coming up in week 4 in 2 days from now. We're recording on Tuesday evening, by the way. Lions at Packers, Thursday night football, which should be very interesting. Who do you like in that game?
Well, just because it's at Green Bay, I think that's what you got to go with. And then when you go to Detroit, you got to like Detroit.
So you think they're pretty evenly matched?
Yeah. I think probably Detroit has more talent, but again, they got to kind of get over the hump. And keep in mind, they didn't start off real well last year, and they had to win 6 straight just to get all the hype that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not 100% sold on Detroit being that team, but I think they got a whole lot more bandwagon jumpers when they beat Kansas City week 1.
So I'm going to bring up another name from college football. Do you remember Mike Ruppin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike Ruppin is a huge Detroit Lions fan. Yeah. And he will get on Facebook and just like the world rises and sets with the Detroit Lions.
We're friends on Facebook.
Yeah, like
every
wow.
Now and then he posts a picture of me fumbling the ball and I handed it off to him. And I blame him and he blames me. So we definitely aware of him and his Detroit Lions fandom.
Tell him to go back to playing linebacker. I think that's how he ended his college career anyway, was playing linebacker. Tell him to go back and play linebacker. Don't need him. All right. This one's your personal favorite, because I want your opinion. Contender or pretender? The Cleveland Browns, baby. What do you got?
What I want and what I think might be two different things. Because if Deshaun Watson plays as well as he did, there's talent all over that football field, and it's going to be tough to defend them. But you've got to find consistency in Deshaun Watson's play. Because how he ended last year and how he started the first couple games is not going to be the answer. But the way he played week 3, and if they can build stack games like that, then I'm scared to death of the Cleveland Browns as a Steelers fan or anybody in the AFC.
So the thing about the Browns is the defense, man. That defense, I've watched it live twice in Cleveland. They're for real. That's a legit defense. They're everywhere. It is insane. You know, it's an NFL season, right? They're gonna have bad games. They're gonna get beat. But like, this is insane, some of the stuff they're doing to people. I think they've given up 14 first downs the entire season after 3 games. This is insane. Insane.
Well, and the Steelers defense is what beat them, not the Steeler offense.
Yeah, like Deshaun Watson, Harrison Bryant with his stone hands trying to catch the ball like this, so it pops up in the air, almost gave up 3 interceptions by himself. It was ridiculous. I was counting it. Like, why would you throw him the ball? Just put him back in there and block.
In the pattern, he was the only one open at the time that Deshaun had the ability to throw it because his clock was going off. Yeah,
but still, they just need to take Harrison Bryant out of the rotation, man. That dude's stone hands, the ball's going up in the air every time he hits his hands, goes straight up. And we don't need that on the field.
I think the guy that doesn't get enough credit and certainly should get the ball more is David Njoku. Now, maybe the Steelers took him away the game that I watched, but the truth of the matter is that kid's a stud. And he had 1 or 2 catches, and then one was at least for 25 or 30 yards. I'm like, thank goodness he doesn't ever catch the ball against us.
So you'll notice that Amari Cooper gets a lot of run out by himself. Okay. Mm-hmm. A lot of what happens against the Browns is that people do take away in David Njoku. Like, that seems to be the guy that people are afraid of. I mean, he's huge, fast. He gets the ball and gets running. You're not going to catch him. So a lot of defenses take him away more than anybody else.
NFL players are freaks at their own even level, but he's a freak above all the freaks with his ability. And he's just the dude. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, NFL teams, you should just like get the all 22 and just watch. They will double him pretty much nonstop. They do not want him to have the football. They would rather Amari Cooper catch the football than David Njoku. It's interesting to watch. This is why whenever Harrison Bryant's out there playing tight end, he's the one that's open because they're not going to let Njoku be open at all. But anyway, I digress. I got 2 more teams. Taking forever tonight. So these are the 2 teams that I have some strong opinions about that I want some answers from you. All right. Pretender or contender? The Washington Commanders.
Pretender, right? They got a few players, but I don't think their roster is worth a darn yet. And they still got work to do. I mean, let's be honest. The Steelers got smoked pretty close to what they did against Buffalo a year ago. Then this year, I guess it was Washington's turn. I think the best news I heard today, or was it yesterday, that there's the Indian group that used to they're suing the Redskins to change the name back, or the Commanders to change the name back to the Redskins. That's the best thing that's happened for them this weekend. Their football team's not very good.
So I pegged earlier in the year in this podcast as the Washington Commanders as the team that is tanking this year. And the reason I said that is they've got great receivers. You got McLaurin out there. You've got a couple guys out there to play receiver, right? You got Curtis Samuel, who's the all-around guy. You've got a decent offensive line. Not much going on at running back, but that Sam Howell is like a 5th-round draft pick. And that's who you're starting at quarterback. Like, that is like Tank City right there. Like, they should just be the Washington Tanks. And then they've come out and they've actually beat people. I'm just like, how does this happen? They're 2-1.
Now, they're going to be competing for Denver to tank. Denver's Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
Yeah, I don't think Denver's trying to tank. I think Washington is trying to tank. Why else would you keep Ron Rivera? But I digress.
He doesn't even know the overtime rules, does he?
No. Last year they're playing the Browns, right? And if the Commanders could have beat the Browns last year, they could have made the playoffs. So the Browns just come in and just beat the crap out of the Commanders. And at the press conference, they asked Ron Rivera about the playoffs. He's like, we could have made the playoffs today? Like, it was like news to him that his team could have been in the playoffs. Like, wow. We're paying attention.
It was in Carolina that he had some sort of snafu in the media, too. Like, he didn't know overtime or something. Rules. I don't know, but I definitely know that we were still eligible for the playoffs? What?
Yeah, that was insane. We could have made the playoffs? What are you talking about? Okay, the last one, and I really want your opinion on this. The Arizona Cardinals, pretender or contender?
You guys had Josh Dobbs for a minute, didn't you?
Yep. And we were more than willing to trade him away to Arizona. That should tell you what we think of Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I think about the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is small. He's basically a running back playing quarterback, and he got exposed last year, and then he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Arizona has any talent around them left because they've made some trades knowing that they were probably going to tank or at least not play real well. And then for them to beat the Dallas Cowboys the other night, I absolutely loved every second of that because I'm not a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. So to answer the question, they are definitely a pretender waiting to battle for Caleb Williams as well.
I agree. It amazes me that they can come out week one. Didn't they win week one?
Who's that?
No, they lost week two. No, they lost week one.
I think Arizona lost both weeks.
They lost week one, but they really took it to somebody, but almost won that game. Then they're like up big on the Giants, and the Giants come back and score 28 points and win in the second half, which I was pretty jacked about because I was the only one in my league that picked the Giants. And then they come out and put a butt whooping on the Cowboys. I just think right now this is the team that everybody's walking in saying, they're starting Josh Dobbs. Why are we preparing for this game? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Well, guess what? That's not going to happen anymore.
Oh, no. After you put a beat down on Dallas, nobody's –
you got everybody's attention now.
Yeah, now their season's going to go because nobody's going to take that stuff lightly. All right, Brad, we're going to walk into my favorite segment, and then we're going to wrap this up. So favorite segment coming up. Here comes the Ravens hate. All right, hold on. I got to play the intro here. Stop here.
I'm actually a Ravens fan.
Go to hell.
All right. Into the Ravens. So, Brad, what do you hate about the Ravens?
First thing I hate about them is their freaking color scheme. Purple. That's enough for me to want to watch them. But that's the least of my worries. Definitely, I can't stand their arrogance. They've won 2 Super Bowls in their existence, and one was done with a quarterback that shouldn't have been playing in Trent Dilfer.
Mm-hmm.
How deep do I want to go? I mean, they do have a criminal, if you even want to call that as your best player that's ever played for you. They've got a running back playing.
Well, you got Ray Lewis, you got Ray Rice. You got the whole situation going on.
If your name's Ray in the Ravens organization, you probably got lucky to not be behind bars. And by the way, the quarterback now that they have should be playing running back.
I agree as well. I see everybody I talk to in the know, at least I think is in the know. Look at Lamar Jackson and think that guy should be playing running back. All he can do is throw the ball over the middle. Like, he doesn't throw the ball outside unless it's like a little bubble screen or something.
I want to know if you're going to sit back in that pocket with Lamar Jackson and expect him on a consistent basis in the playoffs in January, you expect him to deliver the ball to where you want it to go. Now, there's no doubt he's going to run through you like all through the winter or, all through the fall here against lesser teams. But look at his record against the Steelers. 2-4.
That's kind of like Joe Burrow's 1-7 against the Browns.
That's way better.
I wanted to get that out there. I wanted to put that out there for you.
Better. But I honestly, the Ravens and the Steelers, there's no love lost. I mean, they just don't like each other, period. So I could go on and on about how I dislike the Ravens, but the bottom line is they've got as much talent as any team in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to be rooting my what off to make sure that I won't root for them and make sure that they don't make the playoffs.
Well, this week is
we're going to knock them out of first place after we win this week and then get beat by whoever they're playing.
Well, they're playing the Browns this week.
So they'll tie.
The Ravens are at Browns.
The Ravens and Browns are going to tie this week.
Oh, no. No, the Browns are going to beat the Ravens this week. I'm going to tell you why. Because the Browns can rush the passer. And then they're not going to pull that stupid contain rush crap that the Bengals tried that lets him just sit back there and just throw the ball to whoever. You know, the Colts actually rushed him and made him take off. And today's NFL is not the NFL it was 3 years ago. Those linebackers aren't running 4.6, 4.7 40s anymore. They're running 4.4s, 4.5, 4.6s. So they're just as fast as he is. And he's not running around like a crazy man like he used to. The only time that dude runs is when he's escaping the pocket. I would say just dare him, because if you pressure him, he's going to throw it. And you know he's going to throw it one place, which is over the middle of the field anyway. So just stack up.
He's not healthy, is he?
Say that again?
Mark Edwards, he's not healthy, is he?
Mark Andrews?
Andrews.
Yeah.
Well, the big guy tight end, that's tough to car.
Yeah, Mark Andrews. You know, it's funny because they're running that old style offense they had. They would only throw it to the tight ends over the middle. Now with this kind of air raid thing they're doing with Todd Monken, which, I mean, he was in Cleveland for a while and that worked like garbage in Cleveland. It worked like garbage in Tampa Bay, but now all of a sudden he's the savior of the Ravens offense. Now they're throwing it to wide receivers over the middle. So I don't know. I mean, like, I guess that's a better use of your receiving corps to run those crossers and at different levels of the defense, you know.
Until they get hit.
Yeah, until they get hit, and then they're going to rethink that crap. Like, I'm not doing this.
I will say this, and I know this is a Ravens hate segment, which coincides with me. There's no other team I hate more than the Ravens.
Well, good. And you probably know why I hate the Ravens, because the Ravens used to be the Browns, and they suck. By the way, in the Orioles, I'm sure you know this, the Baltimore Orioles used to be the St. Louis Browns until they got sold and like Baltimore turned them into somebody else. I mean, I went to a game because, like I said, I have family out there in that area, and I went to a game and the guy one of the Ravens fans looked at me and said, "What's a Brown?" And I looked at him and said, "The only reason you're asked that question is your damn city. That's why you don't even know what a Brown is. Look it up." So anyway, have you seen the Ravens games? I didn't get a chance to see the Colts game, but I'm pretty happy that the Colts showed up in Baltimore and beat the Ravens. That to me is some kind of poetic justice.
They played all 2 of the 3 games they played in the noon time slots, so that's tough for me to watch. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I don't get a chance to watch the noon time slot. I see the updates on the phone, but my son's playing baseball at that time, so it's hard. So then usually I get a lot of the replays of stuff, but when I just have such a disdain for them that I struggle to watch them. I can't stand them. And then when we beat them at the end of the year last year, that was very satisfying.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I've heard a lot of people like, "Oh, Lamar Jackson's now going to be that pocket passer quarterback," and I just always remind people that 32 NFL teams watched him play a pro-style offense at Louisville, and 31 of them decided he needed to be a wide receiver or a running back. And only one team thought he was worth playing quarterback. Now, he's won an MVP. I'll give him that. But I think that was a part of being a glorified running back in a system where you could exploit slower linebackers, which you can't do now. That's why they got rid of the system. And so I think the Ravens are in a world of hurt. But I've been saying this for 3 months. But
let me ask you about this. You said he was an MVP. Well, how did he become an MVP in the NFL? By running the football.
By running the football.
His MVP year, he threw something like 3 or 4 interceptions in the AFC playoff game. I think it was to the Titans. And I don't think he's been right since. hand the ball off, run the zone read, power read, do all those things, but you're not going to win the big game with him in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Not to mention, the Ravens are going to have to try to find a way to score at high clips against the Chiefs, against the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever comes out of the AFC, the AFC Central, we are, right? My point being, they're not going to be able to rely on Lamar to throw the football when he needs to in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of perused didn't watch the whole game because I get the NFL Plus and I watch those 40-minute condensed games. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole game, but I've talked to some people who was there. But what I was told happened was exactly what the Houston Texans did to them, which was you take away the deep ball, right? If you take away the deep ball from that air raid system, what do you have to do? You have to start throwing the ball underneath. And where are you going to start throwing the ball underneath? You're going to start throwing the ball underneath outside because you're running the guys up and you're doing the stops and the comebacks. Okay, that's not what he's about. So then you're just stuck with him running, 2 or 3 patterns over the middle. You've got your slants, your posts, not much you can do. So the Colts just took all that crap away, took all the deep stuff away. Okay, then made him sit and read man zone, look for the spots and all that kind of stuff. And at that point, he just started running. I was like, screw it, just going to start running. And then, because defenses nowadays are not what they were 3 years ago, they just tackled him and they ended up beating him at home.
Well, I think Indianapolis Colts' defense is pretty underrated. They're pretty good. They just got to get all their offensive pieces together, especially get them all healthy and on. So, but yeah, I hope you're right because you know what the NFL is more than anything is a copycat league, and Indianapolis gave them the format and the blueprint to hopefully beat them more successfully than in the past.
I think the blueprint's been around, and I think the Texans used it week 1. The difference is the Texans had C.J. Stroud as their rookie quarterback on their first start, and that guy's not winning his first start. So, and plus the Ravens do have a complicated 3-4 defense, not particularly the same way the Steelers run it, but they do have a kind of complicated basic system come up the middle like the Steelers like to do and flush outside. But CJ Stroud's not winning his first NFL start. Nobody wins their first NFL start. It just doesn't happen. Nope. So you knew they were screwed. You knew the Texans were screwed when they got the Ravens. But I think the Bengals came out the next week, and I don't know what they were doing. I really don't. I think they were just trying to playing man against all of them. And Zay Flowers, say what you will about Zay Flowers, he's a shifty dude. He's probably the only good wide receiver they have, and that's including OBJ.
Yeah, Zay Flowers. I watched him play on that one of those Monday night or Sunday night games preseason. I watched about 4 plays, and I knew everything I needed to know about that guy. He is going to be a problem.
Yeah, you got to. That's the guy you got to watch in that offense is Zay Flowers. The rest of them, whatever. They'll make plays. Nelson Aguilar might catch a ball this year. I don't know. Maybe. How many teams has that guy been on? So, he might.
Excuse me. There's a reason he's been on a bunch.
Yeah. So, and OBJ's hurt. Of course, they're probably holding him out for this week to Cleveland, but whatever. So, any last thoughts? Okay, this is the last thing I got. I know I've picked it.
Where's that Cleveland Baltimore game at?
It's in Cleveland.
Okay.
It's in Cleveland this year.
This week.
Say that again?
And I said I'm going to go with Cleveland this week because I just feel like that home field advantage is so strong in the NFL.
Well, I also think the Cleveland Browns defense is just going to shut that offense down. The defense is really good. I don't know if that defense is getting enough play nationally. It is historically good at this point. Held teams to 6 points at home so far. And both of those, the one touchdown in Pittsburgh was a busted play, but you get that. That's what happens, right? You get to credit that. Other than that, I don't think the defense has given up a touchdown. It's insane. It's insane. So anyway, I think the defense is going to have enough of him, and I think we've got enough linemen to pressure him. It's going to force him to make quick throws. He's going to be inaccurate, and I think it's going to be a field day. That's my opinion. There we go. Okay, Brad, last segment of the day, and I'm throwing this one on you. Okay? So, I want you to tell one college story about me from what you remember in college. Now I'm going to let you know I've got 3 or 4 on deck here. So whatever level you take this to, I will match it.
You know, I really. So you had your computer always there on your desk, and you always had the music playing, and you were in there. So a few times while you were gone, I jumped on there and I played Tetris for the first time. But I remember at nauseum, you almost had like a loop of music going, and Ace of Base was being played there. And for some reason you liked listening to Ace of Base. I don't know if that was your thing, but I remember you vividly every time that Ace of Base song comes on.
Okay. So that was a pretty nice story. I had all kinds of stories lined up. So I'm going to say this. Go ahead.
You go ahead and tell me all the stories, because I would love to hear them, because I love people when they make fun of me, because that means at least they care about me. If they don't,
Brad, I cared about you, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's my point.
I just couldn't stand staying up all night. That was my thing. Like, I'm a go to bed by 10 o'clock thing, and you wanted to be up all night playing Tecmo Bowl, man. I couldn't deal with that. Couldn't deal with it. No, but my story. Say it again.
So I had to have football in my life at all times.
I agree. I get it. I totally get it. So my story for you is this. Okay, this is what got me the mad respect for Brad Haskman. You liked this girl. Okay, I remember this girl. She had a sister our age that everybody hated, and she was like a real witch. But she had an older sister that was a junior, and I think you asked her out like 4 times. I remember you calling her up, asking her out, and she was like, no. And you're like, okay, I'll try again in a couple days. And you call her up again, and she'd turn you down. And then you'd call her up again, and she'd turn you down. I'm like, that's some respect, dude. He's going to wear her down. I don't know if you ever did or not, but like, I'm going to give you the mad respect for you saw something and you went for it. And I don't know if you ever got it or not, but you went for it. And what more can you want out of a person, right?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty relentless in everything I do, so I don't like to lose and I don't like to fail. So if you have those 2 things in your life, I think it's, you're going to be all right in life. And I feel like I've done pretty good. So
yeah, I'll say that.
I would love for you to remember the girl's name, because then I could probably give you an update on that. But to be honest with you, I think her name was Kim. And I think her last name was LaFave. Kim LaFave. Because she had tall, dark-haired girl. She was really hot. I'm not going to lie. She was hot. But her little sister was not. Cross-country runner?
Say that again?
Was she the cross-country runner?
I think so.
Turned out all right.
Okay, that's good. I never knew what the end of all that was, but I know you were on it, man. You were on it, and I respect it. I think maybe it's a football thing, because that's how you're successful in football, right? You have to be relentless. You have to see what you want. You have to go at it. You have to never give up and do it, man. I thought, well, he's going for it, man. This is what I want out of my quarterback. That's my quarterback. Brad, you'll always be my quarterback. I'm just going to let you know. I appreciated being roommates with you for a semester freshman year. Wish you would have turned off the Tecmo Bowl. We probably would have gotten along better, but that's okay.
You probably should have told me to turn it off. I wouldn't have taken that much convincing.
No, I think we actually almost came to blows over this thing at one point. But
probably did.
I was going to take a hammer to your Tecmo Bowl game, and I think you stopped me.
That's funny. I love that game, and honestly, my son downloaded an app that has it on there, and I looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I play that all the time. And you bring it up, it's more funny now.
Tecmo Bowl. All right, Brad. Hope to have you back on the podcast. Maybe next time we have Steelers week, we'll have you back on. I just enjoyed, I think, just listening to someone else again who knows football, and just it's few and far between, and you probably know that. Like, knowing as much football as you do, it's a lonely football life.
I actually had a great time, and whenever you want to invite me back, I'll be ready.
Cool. It might be sooner than later. So, keep on your Ravens hate. Keep that Ravens hate up. That's some good level Ravens hate.
That won't be a problem. And the more they fail at playing football, the more it'll fuel my fire.
Well, I'm glad we can agree on that. So,
Yeah,
all right, guys, thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you for listening to the What the Elf Was That podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends to give a listen. You can follow host Joel Cade on Twitter @TheLeftGuard.